Greetings. My name is Tanya Moran Adolph. I am Associate Director of Generational Programs at the USC Alumni Association. Welcome to Global Voices for Women's Equality. Before we get started today, we have just a few housekeeping items. This session is being recorded. Your video is turned off and your audio has been muted, but feel free to use the Q&A feature to ask any questions. We'll also have a chat feature on, so you can type in your comments as well. I'd now like to welcome Karen Carr-Crawford, Chair of the USC Trojan Women's Network, to begin today's program.
Thank you, Tanya. Really appreciate that. And good evening to everyone, or good morning or afternoon, depending where you're joining us from. We really appreciate you having you here with us. And again, my name is Karen Carr-Crawford, and I'm a 1983 graduate of the Sol Price School of Public Policy. I received my master's degree at that time, and I'm also the chair of the Trojan Women's Network. So welcome again to our program. We are really, really excited to host this extraordinary panel because despite barriers, women are continuing to shatter glass ceilings, as we've seen over and over again this year. And they are working to bring up the next generation of women with them. As Trojan women, we celebrate our shared experience. Featuring alumni across the globe, our guest today will discuss how regional influences and gender played and continue to play a role in their leadership journeys. Following our discussion with each of our guests, we will open up the floor to questions and dialogue. So hold all your great questions. Leading us today is our Vice Chair of Programming, the wonderful, the one and only Jameelah Nuriddin. She is a 2006 graduate of the USC School of Dramatic Arts. Jameelah is a very socially conscious film and media producer. She is an award-winning film editor and an NAACP award-winning actress. With over 10 years in commercial production, Jameelah has had the pleasure of collaborating with top international brands like Nike and Dove. Hailing from Atlanta, her connection to her Southern roots and African-American heritage drives her lifelong passion for social change using the immeasurable power of storytelling. How perfectly fitting for what we have happening today. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our own Trojan Women's Network board member, Jameelah Nuriddin.
Oh, thank you so much for the kind introduction, Karen. I'm so honored to serve as moderator for this very important discussion. So I'd like to begin today's program by first welcoming our guest, Rebecca Branham. Rebecca is a 2013 MBA graduate from the Marshall School of Business. She's co-founder and managing director of the B&L Group Incorporated and founder of CP Women. Rebecca is also a board member of the USC Asian Pacific Alumni Association. And we are very happy to welcome Rebecca here today. Welcome, Rebecca. Are you there? Are you on mute?
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Hello. Hi.
Good to see you. Thank you for being here with us. So you have such a fascinating story. Tell me about your personal journey. How did you get to where you are today?
Oh my goodness. First of all, I'd like to thank you and thanks to USC Chosen Women Network and give me this opportunity. It's my great honor and pleasure to talk to you all and share my stories. And when you think of my story, and then you can think of what's going on in China, what has been look like before and now, because that is my personal story will tell. But if I tell too much, you will know how old I am anyway. China, it's a male-dominated country before, and you can say now too, but it's better. So when I was a kid at that time, they are still encourage you to go to school as a woman and as a little girl, but also in that time, the Chinese Revolutionary Cultural Revolution, and also that at the time, there are not many activities in China. And also for me, I was quite lucky because my parents are in education field. So education is so powerful, and they always encourage us to learn more. So I learned a lot when I was a kid, even music and dancing, everything. And so after China is open to the world, that is like, especially in economic reform, that is late 1970s. And they also went back to their college entrance exam system. So I was lucky to get back to school to study more. And then also it's a shift time for China to study foreign language. The main one is English. Before is Russian. So you can tell that at that time I was so excited to learn English. And then that is my special skills I have gained from my college time. And then my major is English. And then so during the time for China's development, my language skill helped me a lot. So my first job is teaching English in a college. And then I had opportunity to be hired as a secretary of first foreign investment company in northern China to the general manager. So that opened my world up. And then also I have this privilege to work with general manager and then visited the factories and the site and then meet all new investors and government officials. So that is my precious experience. That leads me to be hired for the first, as a first employee for one foreign engineering company in my hometown too. And then so I'm still trying to learn a lot. And then I helped them set up a China office. And then I left my hometown, went to Beijing and take the adventure, and then was hired by an American engineering company with my experience. And that put me on another stage of my personal growth and also professional development. And then at that time, I was just so excited. And then I got promoted within a few months after I joined the company. And then they created a position for me in China operation, and then work with the project directors directly. At that time, we have 11 projects in China. You can tell how fast they developed, right, China at that time. And then so I got my first business trip to US. That's what I can never imagine, and then have that opportunity. And then by the way, at that time, my parents are still in education field in China. So like, my 1 month salary is their whole year's salary. It's a big change. But I was just so excited, and then just learned everything I can, and then valued every opportunity. And then also I met my husband through work. At that time, it was not easy to be a so-called older lady, single woman, and not married before when you're 30 years old or what, you know. But anyway, and then I found my husband. I was just so thrilled. And we are now today, this year, now we are 22 years married.
Congratulations.
Yes. And then so for me, it's like I experienced so many first-hand experience, and then learned the knowledge, and then I arranged the reception, and then received twice for former Secretary of State George Shultz. And then and then I was sent to Taiwan with my husband. That is another change. So I left my hometown to Beijing and worked for an American company, and then Taiwan, and then come back to China with my husband's assignment. And then so with that time, I went back to school, studied fashion design, and that is open to everybody, of course. And then unfortunately, I was brought to this entrepreneurship journey because my husband started the consulting, and then so we set up our own company. And then with that, for our first project, I was doing permitting everything by myself, you know. And then we got the opportunity and have more projects. So I hired 13 people within 2 weeks and sent to southern China. And then I traveled every week. And then from then we started our adventure, and then we are doing good. And so we are quite fortunate. In 2010, Shanghai World Expo, actually USC Pavilion is our project. We are a project manager, and then we are helping the consulate to arrange all the delegations visit to China, to USA Pavilion, including then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. And then, so we just try everything we can to help our foreign investors, mainly American companies in China. And also at the same time, we help that US government to do this project too, to help the consulate to receive all the delegation, even though it's not in our project management service scope, but we try. I think that is all what we carried on to how to provide good service. For my personal growth also, from all this time, I work for that engineering company and then deal with all different part of clients and then partners. So I learned a lot about communication, and then also how to take multitasks, and then also how to manage yourself to adapt multicultural. Because my boss are from different countries, and then also Chinese stuff, so I work with. And then I believe that you work hard, you will gain what you deserve to gain. And so that's my experience. And
I
then
love that.
I
have a quick question. I just want to, because you talk about how you've worked with all these different cultures and all these different women in these different places. What challenges did you see women face? I guess it's a two-part question. What challenges did you see women face that all women face, no matter where you were? And did you notice any challenges that women only faced in certain areas between like Taiwan?
I believe that women exchanged similar challenges. And then, so for me, for example, when I was hired for that first foreign investment company in my hometown, that is the first one for Northern China, I was hired as a secretary. And then also at the same time, I also joined a competition like public relations, Miss Public Relations. And that is a new term for China. Nobody knows what a PR is. Now you know the PR agency, PR consultant, right? So as a secretary at that time, they don't look at you as a valued stuff. Mm-hmm. And then so they looked at you, and then as a PR, and I won the champion. And then I still work for the company, but normally they think that, oh, PR, Miss PR, you just go to the banquet with your managers to help, and then pour you the drink and then serve, whatever. That is what they look at that time. And then also the other challenge is like when I moved to Beijing, take my adventure journey, right? Joined this company, and I was hired as an executive secretary and got promoted, but at my age at that time, nobody believed that I take this job because they think that, oh, you are not young girl anymore, right? You are not whatever. So you shouldn't do this. But to me, I look at that as opportunity. And also the challenge is that when you work hard, you devote yourself too much time to the work. And then also your family pressure, your colleagues, they look at you like, oh my goodness, she's still single. All this kind of thing, the pressure, social pressure, and then family pressure. But I'm lucky that my family is quite open. My parents are open. And then so I just stay where I am, and I have the confidence in myself. And then you got promoted, and then you work hard. And then of course, you will face the challenge like the other people look at you. They say, why you have the opportunity, right? At that time, I was called by our company like China Star. So I just learned ignore other noises and then just focus on what you're doing. And also I didn't plan to be entrepreneur, but my husband brought me to this. And then you know what, whether you're intend to do it or not, when you're in the position, you have to try your best to make it work.
I love that so much. I mean, that right there, it kind of sums up your whole wonderful journey. You've done so much in such a short lifetime. It's incredible. And thank you so much for sharing with us today. It's been very enlightening. Please stick around for the discussion Q&A portion of it. And now I'd like to welcome Megan Green, if you can join us off on camera. Megan is a 2019 graduate of the Edinburgh School of Communications. Hold on one second, there's a message coming through. Okay. All right, there it is. So Megan is the founder of Crown Workshop. One second, sorry, just having a few little technical glitches here. How do I get this out of? Okay, we're back in business now, people. All right, so Megan. She's the founder of Crown Workshop. It's a lifestyle brand. It's Motivate, Vibe, Grow. She's an expert on wellness, mental health, and personal development. She's from Cape Town, South Africa. Megan, please welcome. I'm gonna clap for you. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And just to give you a little bit about myself, I am an entrepreneur, and I've actually entered the entrepreneurial space from an untraditional background. I worked in the aerospace industry most of my career. And it was only about 4 years ago that I decided to embrace entrepreneurship. During my grad program at USC, a lot of my professors were like, you need to take your business seriously, you can do it. And that encouragement really helped me. So when I lived in LA, I grew up in Philadelphia. I've moved around for work for a while. And living in LA, I started an avocado-based product business. And I originally went to school to do diversity and inclusion in the workplace. So I have this product, people are sending me money before I even have containers. So it really forced me when I wasn't quite ready. And I started to focus on this. Throughout my grad program, I realized that I'm selling product and I've been getting paid to do hair since I was 13. So I'm taking clients, I'm testing the product, and I realized that it really wasn't about the product. A lot of women didn't feel comfortable with their natural hair and just with themselves. And I realized that I could use hair care and crown care as a means to just introduce people to their wellness and help them to understand the interconnectedness of mental health, confidence, and how it affects your performance and productivity. So I pivoted and I launched this workshop. And one of the experiences that actually forced me to embrace my entrepreneurship journey was I did an internship in South Africa. So I worked for a startup accelerator program, and I told myself, Megan, if you're serious about being an entrepreneur, you need to understand what investors look for. So working there gave me a really great experience, and it helped me to see what innovative companies around the continent were doing. Being in Cape Town was a whole new world for me. And some of the experiences there helped me to see that this vision I had for a social enterprise was really necessary. Relocating to South Africa, although it was for a few months, when you go to a place as a tourist, you have one experience. But when you're there for a few months, you know, you get to dance with the place. So then you start to actually realize some of its issues. You start to see the good, the bad, and ugly. And as my background's in psychology, so I'm very aware of social dynamics and realizing who was taking space in society. I realized that there was a lot of residue from apartheid that was still alive, well, and present. A lot of women didn't feel confident. They didn't have the necessary tools to take care of their hair or the knowledge to do so. And when you're working so hard, wellness is not even a question, because working until you are going to pass out is your norm. So I went back to LA, finished my grad program, and I really decided that I was going to do this. I launched the Crown Workshop, and I started teaching just wellness, building confidence in middle schools throughout the US. So I launched it in August of 2019. And in November, I decided, I was like, I want to do it in Cape Town. There were moments in South Africa when I met little girls in Johannesburg, and they were like, please don't leave us, help us with our hair. So I remember being like, I'm going to figure it out. And I came back. launch workshops in different townships. And I felt like all of my experiences never really made sense because I've always navigated the corporate and creative world. So this was the first time I was actually able to marry the two through the social enterprise. And it was really encouraging. It was received well. I went to underserved areas in South Africa, and I went there from a space of love, being like, hey, these are my skills. I really believe it may be able to assist you on your journey. And yeah, it was really, really wonderful. Another experience that really informs the work I've done is I didn't grow up with a lot of money. You know what I mean? My family worked really hard to just put everything on the table. So I was always really appreciative. And because my background is, being in the foster care, like growing up in foster care, getting adopted, I've always felt like I wanted to give back because so much was given to me. And I didn't feel comfortable with the fact that a lot of the people who would benefit most from my product wouldn't have had access to it due to its price point. So that really helped me to see, okay, I need to figure this out. So when I launched the workshops and when it was received well, after one experience, and mind you, I would just connect with NGOs and coffee shops all throughout Cape Town, and we'd curate these experiences, and they didn't really know what to expect. But when it was received well, and the amount of joy I experienced after the workshop, I realized that I was willing to risk anything and willing to do anything it took to make it work. Mm-hmm. So my experiences in South Africa has definitely shaped me, and seeing women just go through so much, they work so hard. And I feel like if you can ease the stress or add some light in someone's life through your work, I felt like by me showing them how to care for their crown, how to create products using what's in their kitchen, and how to understand that you actually don't need a lot of money to take care of yourself. There's things at home in your kitchen that you can use. Doing these experiences where it really, really helped me. And I really saw the joy that the women were getting from it. And it made entrepreneurship, the cyclical moments, worthwhile.
I love that. I have a quick question for you about some of the other, like what specific issues did you see women in South America having to deal with between, you were mentioning natural hair discrimination, or you kind of touched on just hair care in general, but in gender-based violence, or you talked about domestic workers. Like, what were the main issues in South Africa for women at that time?
Yeah, so the main issues, I realized that just so many women aren't really encouraged to take up space in society just because of their history of oppression. And I realized that they didn't feel really confident, and you learn a lot about yourself based on what you see in the world. So if you're navigating South Africa and you see how, white people live in South Africa versus people of color, you start to make sense of yourself and your place in the world. So I saw a lot of people shrink. Also, gender-based violence is also really huge as well. And women are really taking a stand and realizing that so much was put on them during the years of oppression that they probably just dealt with, and they don't necessarily need to deal with it anymore. So it's been really cool to see a lot of women step up on a natural hair front, on a gender-based violence front, and also making sure domestic workers are treated well.
I love that. So you're going forward, you've already done so much, but going forward, can you share a little about your vision for MVG and Crown Workshop, and also tell us a little bit about this grocery initiative that you are starting to feed families in South America?
Yes. So my vision for my business is really to continue to create a social enterprise where we curate education experiences around wellness, confidence, personal development, and helping people to understand how it's connected to mental health. My goal is to have 1 million women or people go through my workshop by 2025. But I know that I can, and I also want to do workshops all around the continent. So that's been my goal. However, coming to South Africa in March, I moved here and I realized that I can't help you. I'm not going to talk to you about taking care of your hair when your basic needs aren't met.
Right.
So I realized that a lot of people were struggling through the pandemic. So I started off just sponsoring groceries on my own, and then I posted about it. And now I've invited other people to donate because the US dollar goes a long way in South Africa, and you can actually feed a family for $25 for a month. So I really would like to, open up this space if anyone's interested. Getting the pictures of the people getting the food packages, it's like, don't take your influence lightly. And if you can influence one person, and if you have an idea and you see how your work can help someone, just do it, even if it's just one person, and just see what happens. And for a long time, I always felt like I wasn't ready. I dealt with a lot of mental health issues that influenced how I showed up in the world. And it stemmed from trauma, so many things. And I had a lot of unlearning to do. And my personal wellness journey has helped me to see that even embracing entrepreneurship, I was working at the detriment of my relationships, my sense of self, and you don't have to do that. So, yeah.
That's so much. Well, let us know how we can support this initiative, this grocery initiative. We'd love to get that out to all of the participants, and really wonderful, powerful work you're doing. Thank you so much for what you're putting out there.
Yeah, you can just go to motivatevibegrow.com and you'll get a snippet of some of the work I'm doing, and then you can donate as well. And
motivate.grow.com.
No, so it's motivatevibegrow.com, and then you can get, and then you can donate that way.
Perfect. We'll make sure to link that through. And thank you so much, Megan. So wonderful to chat with you.
Yes, thank you so much.
And now I'd like to welcome Fernanda Deshkin. Fernanda graduated with both her bachelor's and master's degrees in 2017 from the School of Engineering. In addition to being a third-year medical student at the Albert Einstein University, one of the most prestigious medical schools in South America, she's also president of the USC Alumni Club for Brazil. So from São Paulo, Brazil, let's welcome Fernanda. Welcome, Fernanda.
Thank you, everyone. It's an honor for me to represent Brazil, to represent South America in this event. Thank you, Trojan Women's Network, and everyone here. I think it's a very inspiring event, such wonderful Trojans here. And just to give a background of my story, I think I'm a third generation Japanese Brazilian. So some of you might be thinking why I look Asian and everything. So I'm very proud of my roots. My grandparents came to Brazil because of the World War II. And it was World War I for my great-grandparents, and then my grandparents were here already. So growing up in Brazil, facing some preconceived notions about having an Asian family from abroad was really hard for them. And if today I had the opportunity to study abroad, study in a very renowned university such as USC, this is all because of my family, and I have a lot of gratitude because of that. And when I was at USC, so I grew up in Brazil, and I went to USC because I felt very curious about studying abroad. I was the first in my family to study abroad, and I kind of didn't know at that time what I wanted to pursue as a career. And since in Brazil, we have already to choose our career from high school, I was a little bit afraid of joining medical school right after high school. So I enrolled in Viterbi School. Engineering was also one of my passions at that time, so I was very confused. And then at USC, I found such multidisciplinary careers, how I could join medicine and also engineering as a career. And I started to participate in many events, especially conferences that would connect. I helped to lead some conferences that would connect Brazilian leaders in the US or maybe in Europe. Sometimes we also went to São Paulo as well. So more than 10 conferences. And what I got from those events was that we always have to be very connected to some of our groups that we have a similar purpose. And the purpose that we had in those conferences was to have more young people empowered to change Brazil. And for me, this was a very strong feeling that made me come back to Brazil after graduating with a bachelor's and master's in engineering. And I felt that medicine was also something I wanted to pursue. So that's why after graduating, I started medical school right after. And I've been having a wonderful experience. I think that I will be able to connect engineering and medicine, especially in public health, because I've seen in the past many private and public relations partnerships, and I've seen how there's a lot of potential to improve the public healthcare system in Brazil. Nowadays, we have a universal healthcare coverage, but still, it still lacks a lot of infrastructure, and the quality is a lot of variability throughout the country. So I believe that my main goal in my career would be to improve the public healthcare system and also add on to the engineering and the engineering background that I had at USC.
I love that. What are some of the issues you're seeing women in Brazil facing in this kind of public healthcare, in the public healthcare system?
So I've seen that now, especially in medical schools, we have seen more women enrolling in nursing school, medical school. So this is a start, because if you are treated by a woman, you already might feel more comfortable, or maybe you will be more comfortable talking about, for example, women violence that has been risen, especially in pandemic months in the beginning, and still very high in the last months in Brazil. But what I've seen in public healthcare especially is that we still in Brazil lack a lot of infrastructure to deal with women as a different population, which I mean, we have a concept in medicine that is the law of inverse care. So many times we see that we take more care of those who already don't need much of the care they are having. So many times the vulnerable population, especially for women in favelas or in very poor communities, sometimes they don't reach out. They don't go to the healthcare communities. They don't go to the hospitals. Maybe it's because they already know there is a huge queue, they will be waiting, or maybe because they don't have time. They have to work a lot. They have 2-3 jobs at the same time. They don't have a husband. They have to take care of several children. And it's really hard for them, because many times the politicians will be male who won't understand that this is a very hard position they're on. They have many children, but it's not because they chose to have many children without the enough financial incentives they had. So many times it's because they were not properly educated about the contraceptive methods. They didn't have access to better healthcare, or sometimes they were married to someone who wanted to have more kids, but then they split it up. So there are many issues that I see in public healthcare system that are more about the social determinants, which I mean more where the person lives, about the food. And also there is also the aspect of access to health. But this part, I think, it's been improving a little bit.
Good.
Yeah.
In what way has access improved in recent times, or even throughout COVID, or how have you seen access improve?
So especially with COVID, I've seen many healthcare startups creating new strategies to improve access, throughout different communities. So I've been able to work in 2 startups. One of them was a healthcare startup on health insurance plans, and it provided more accessible plans for Brazilians, especially in the area that I live in São Paulo. And what I've seen is that many Brazilians still don't understand how the public healthcare system of Brazil is very well designed, but still not many things are put into practice. The design is very similar to the NHS system in the UK, but in practice, we need more management leaders, especially women. But what I've seen is that the healthcare startups have helped to increase the efficiency and the access through telemedicine, and especially with big data, with more data analytics. So they were able to focus more their attention into the bottlenecks of healthcare and not only on the bureaucratic part. So technology has played a major role in healthcare.
Wow, that is so fascinating. I love how everything's kind of coalescing for you of all your interests and very notable shares. Thank you so much for sharing your experience in Brazil. Thank you. So for our next speaker, joining us is Anne Sutanto. She's also from the School of Engineering, class of 1992. Anne is the Vice CEO of PT Pan Brothers, also CEO of PT Boomi, and President Director of PT Indo. She's one of Forbes 50 most powerful businesswomen in Asia, and also serves as the president of the USC. I'm just keeping you on your toes there. Alumni Club of Indonesia. She's from right here from Jakarta, Indonesia. Please welcome Anne Sutanto.
Thank you, Jameelah. I almost say, oops.
Not the arch nemesis. Thank you so much for
everyone. All the beautiful ladies and hopefully there's gentlemen here. Thank you very much for inviting me on the USC Trojans Women Network. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Tanya and Jameelah and Karen. So I'm from Jakarta, Indonesia. I'm a Trojans 1992 chemical engineer with minor in business, a little bit martial there. So basically, I was born from an integrated plywood manufacturing entrepreneur dad. And I was not brought up to be entrepreneur because my dad always say, women supposed to be at home, getting married, having kids, taking care of the kids, because that's what my mom do, a very devoted housewife. However, when I was in USC freshman year, my dad went over, visit us and get stroke in Los Angeles in 1991. And I have three siblings, three girls and one son. So I was the second one. My sister doesn't like to work. She said that I don't want to work. So it left to me because my sister is still in high school and my brother is still in junior high school. So I told my dad at that time and my parents, I want to go back and continue your business, continue to be you. Back then when I was in chemical engineer, my thought I would like to be a scientist. I want to be a biotechnologist. I do not like to be in the business side. I would like to be on the science side. And I was in there because I was in USC because of my boyfriend who is coming from high school, same high school. We enrolled in USC, and actually my boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend is right now my husband. So we are high school sweetheart, right? So I told my boyfriend back then and my husband that I need to go back early. So I went to the dean at that time. I take all the junior and senior class at one go because I want to graduate it. I did not want to drop out. So I told my dean, my professors, I I need to take 24 credits, 6 class at one go, including summer and so on, so I can speed up. Because back then when, so I started my freshman in fall 1990. I graduated in December 1992. And I think USC is what made me I am today, because otherwise I don't think I can do it in any other school. That's the reason that my son right now is USC Trojans. So the Trojans legacy continue. He is in Viterbi as well, electrical engineer, and right now Master of Science in USC as well. So we love USC, love Trojans that much. So let me share with you, when I was back, I was not welcome in the integrated plywood manufacturing. Basically, it's a business family, it's family business. And it was founded by the 3 brothers, my dad and the two brothers. The younger brother did not like me, and I was kicked out in 1996. I was dumb, and I actually want to work professional in the bank and also in the consultant. But on the day I want to be interviewed by, back then, KPMG, I actually was called by one of my uncle from my mom's side to be part of his journey to take over this company called Penn Brothers, because this company is dying company. We need to buy acquisitions and buy. So I actually was mentored by him for 6 months. I have to say it's the hellish 6 months, but that's the best 6 months ever, because I was actually have to type in Bahasa Indonesia. At that time, my Bahasa is not as good as my English, but then, you know, I learned so much, the micro, macro, the way to handle the banks, the way to handle the employee, because basically Penn Brothers is garment manufacturing, labor intensive there. And US educations and Indonesia has different culture. We are very straightforward when it comes to US culture. In Indonesia, back then it's more demure. You have to be very diplomatic. And women, I have to say, women in Indonesia, surprisingly, we are well accepted. Surprisingly, I cannot say surprisingly, because my father is very traditionalist, but actually Indonesia itself, we are not that traditionalist when it comes to accepting women. Yes, women at that time is not yet there. It means not so many executive or high CEOs is women, mostly are men. But the man is not really looking down at women at work or women in the business world. So my journey in Penn Brothers, we started in 1997. We are taken over that company. And then I was actually on the first day, 1st April 1997, I become the finance director in Penn Brothers. At that time, our sales is $12 million annually only. It's listed, but very small. And now, as of last year, it's around $700 million by now. And we are largest garment manufacturing in Indonesia. We employ about 33,000 workers. We are 97% export. If you know the brands, of course, all of you know Adidas, North Face, Salomon, Arc'teryx, Ralph Lauren, Spider, Uniqlo, H&M, IKEA sofa cover. It was all made in Indonesia. Most probably it comes from our factories. Back then, okay, I'm also a gender equality part. Yeah, I believe in gender equality in the country. Why? It's not about women, but it's also about how we would like to be perceived in the workplace. Because I do believe that women is multitasking. I'm a mom also. I'm a mom of 23 years old son, as well as 21-year-old daughter. Both are very sharp. One is Trojan, the other one is Cornelians. And then the journey of becoming a wife, a mom, and as well as a vice CEO. I know all of you are the same. It's really not easy, but In Indonesia, thank God we have helps. We have a good helps.
What are some tips you might recommend? You're talking about
Yeah.
the kind of this work-life balance between being a mom, a boss, a wife. What are some of the tips for work-life balance that you see, or what do you see some women doing in Indonesia that works?
Okay, so what I do first? What I do is when I was in the workplace, I'm a tiger. I'm a tiger. But when I come home, I'm a pussycat. So so I learned to do that because obviously my husband is a very he loves me. I mean my children and my children always say I'm an absent mom. So I was there but I'm not there. But they really loves me to the point that they are very, very independent, right? But I think what needs to be discussed here is that how women in our society need to be able to also understand why men perceive us differently, right? So to order to close the gap, my thinking is always we need to be also at par in terms of our performance, because I think performance and merit is the only thing that can close the gap between any gender, any race, any religion discriminations, right? Because everyone always believe on performance and merit, because that's where the sustainability come from, right? And second, I do believe that communication and coordinations and everything that is not solved need to be solved right away. It's either between my relationship with my husband or my relationship with my children or my relationship with all my peers as well as my subordinate. Because if it's not being resolved, it's going to become a balloon and suddenly it's pop up and, we are in a big mess. And I think, for me, having both men and women in the workplace is really, really very ideal. Yeah. In the past, labor-intensive garment, we employed in the past about 95% women and 5% men only. So with the gender equality in workplace, I told everyone we have to employ based on merit. So we suddenly have operator level 65-35, yet on the management level, we have 51% women and 49% men. In the past, we have 95% women, 5% men, and on the operator level. And then on the management level, we have only about 20% women, or not even 10% women and 90% men. So it's, basically the quality of the regenerations of the women in the workplace in our company is actually moving up towards the path of career instead of just a workforce in the ground. Yeah.
Thank you for that. That is so very much important and very much a focus for today, is to get on equal footing in the higher realms and mid-level management. Thank you so much for your insights today. This has been really illuminating, and thank you for your time. Stick around for the Q&A, please.
Yeah, fight on, everyone. All the women there, fight on.
Yeah, right on, all the women there. Lovely. So now I'd like to introduce our alumna, Lynn Tai. She's hailing from the Marshall School of Business class of 1999. Lynn is the founder and CEO of Rita Phil, she's the founder and CEO of the TVL Group. That is really what she specializes in, which is custom tailored apparel for busy working women. She also serves as Shark on Shark Tank Vietnam. So from Vietnam, thank you, Lynn, for joining us. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. I'm so happy to be here. This has been a super interesting panel. It's a great idea. I haven't seen this before, and I think it's great to just learn so much from people all around the world. So I'm very excited to be here. Share with you a little bit about Vietnam. So let's see. I was born in Vietnam, and my mom took me to the U.S. when I was 2. So I grew up mostly in the U.S. and came back to Vietnam about 13 years ago. And in the past 13 years in Vietnam, I've been both a venture capital investor as well as an entrepreneur. And so I'll share with you a little bit about my experiences in the workforce, as well as kind of starting something on my own. And then before I came to Vietnam, I was working at both startups as well as in finance and investment banking in New York. So also kind of diverse set of experiences in the US. So I'll be comparing and contrasting a little bit between the US and Vietnam, just to kind of give people a little flavor on, on the two countries. So let's see. So I think I'm going to start with the Vietnam War, because a lot of people in the US and maybe around the world, when you think Vietnam, you kind of think of the war. And so I want to at least say that that is the past, right? Things have moved on. The living situation here is pretty much very capitalist. People are just very focused on the future, very focused on creating a brighter future for themselves and for their families. So I'm going to throw some stats out. So within the workforce, women account for 74% of the workforce. So if you compare that to the US, women account for 63% of the workforce in the US. So there are more women in Vietnam working than the US. But according to research reports, that's actually normal. The more developed a country gets, the fewer women participate in the workforce, because men can basically provide for the family with a one single income. So then in terms of leadership, let's see. So globally, this is a report from Grant Thornton. Globally, 87% of women of companies have at least one woman in senior management. In Vietnam, that's 36%. So it's low. However, it's the second highest in Asia. So Vietnam is actually quite progressive. On a personal note, when I came to Vietnam, I was leaving New York, my investment banking job, where I was maybe one of 5 females in a group of about 150 people. So worked with basically 90% men. And so I joined a venture capital fund that was also a larger financial institution that had several other funds, private equity funds, real estate, infrastructure. So about another 150 people. And when I joined the fund in Vietnam, there were many more women in investment roles. So so not just the support roles, but within the investment roles. Actually never counted, but it had to at least have been 30–40% women. So that kind of made me feel it was different, right? It's still a very hard-hitting environment, but many more women. And so, and then you start wondering why. Why is it that, there are more women in a what you would consider a traditionally male-dominated industry? And so you start digging into it a little bit further. You look at why women drop out of the workforce, because when you look at a lot of numbers, starting in the workforce or even within education, it's usually 50–50 or very close to in terms of college attendance. And then maybe within the first 5 years of work, there are many women, maybe also 50–50 in the workforce, but then it starts to drop off as the roles get more senior. And one of those reasons is usually because of personal reasons. Women need to have children, right? The man can't have a baby. If they could, it would be great. I'd hand it over to my husband. But I was the one that has the genetic parts to have the baby. And so, so I think one of the important things that governments can do to help encourage women stay in the workforce is the regulations around maternity leave. Mm-hmm. And so I think Vietnam has one of the best maternity leave policies that I've heard. So if anybody can share with us today. But let's see. So I'm going to throw out some numbers. So in Vietnam, when you're pregnant, well, actually in general, maternity leave is 6 months, right? So that is paid maternity leave paid by social insurance. And so you have 6 months, which anybody has ever been pregnant knows 6 months is actually not that much time. You're barely getting your brain back together after 6 months. And then while you're pregnant, you get 5 2-day periods to take off paid, right? So it could be, you have morning sickness, you're really tired, whatever, you have 5 2-day periods. And then paternity leave, men get 5 days off when the wife delivers, and then they get an additional 30 days to help take care of the baby, which is super helpful. You can never have enough people helping take care of a newborn. And then when the woman returns to work, if you have a child that's under 12 years old, you get 1 hour per day paid for pumping, lactation, and resting. And so that's in addition to your lunch hour. And then companies are also encouraged to have lactation rooms. And then if you have over 1,000 employees, then you're required to have a lactation room. So those are just some samples of some of the policies that really help women stay in the workforce. And then a new one that just came out, which I find really interesting, is when women are menstruating, you can have a 30-minute paid break each day for 3 days a month. So I think that's super interesting. I don't know how you go about proving that with your manager, but again, it just shows that the powers that be here are really thinking about the needs of women, and really thinking, understanding the contributions that women make to the workforce, and just how important it is that we make sure that women and men are different, and that you provide for the needs. And if you provide for the women's needs, then they'll stay in the workforce and continue to contribute. So those are kind of some of the policy numbers. We'll jump over to maybe some cultural norms, which I think are kind of fun.
Sure.
So in the U.S., yeah, so something a little bit maybe less numbers oriented. When I grew up in the U.S., you kind of feel like women are treated well because men tend to have they're nice to women. It's not as patriarchal as of a society. When I got to Vietnam, I found out that there's a thing called Women's Day, and it's October 20th, and the whole country celebrates women, which it's like, of course, then that kind of implies that means 364 days is a man's day, kind of. But let's think of it in a more positive note. At least there's at least one day, right? That doesn't exist in the U.S. There is an International Women's Day, and so we actually celebrate both here. So we celebrate International Women's Day and a Vietnam Women's Day. And so on that day, all the men give women flowers and gifts, and it happens in all parts of society. So your husband, boyfriend will give you something. And then at work, we'll have like a lunch.
Mother's Day?
Yeah.
Is there also Mother's Day in Vietnam? I'm just kind of calculate all the wonderful holidays for women.
So we actually celebrate the standard Mother's Day.
That's great.
That we do
And then you
in
get
the
Women's
US.
Day on top of it. This is wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and there's actually also Children's Day too. So Vietnam is a very family-oriented country. Over 50% of the population is under 30, and everybody loves having children. Most people have two. So everywhere you go, there's little kids running around, and so it's a very family-oriented culture. So those are some of the good things. However, it is still quite patriarchal on a day-to-day basis. So for most women, if you are working, you will come home and then take care of the household, which I think kind of happens everywhere. But I have a number to put to that. So in Vietnam, on average, the average working mom will also put 4.5 hours of work at home. So that's washing dishes, doing laundry, cooking, and all that. So if you can imagine, getting home from work around 6 or 7, and then working another 4 hours. So it's pretty. The roles at home are still very gender based. It is improving. Men in the city are more open to helping at home, to cooking, or maybe doing the dishes, maybe doing a little bit of laundry. But it's still, very, very female focused. So that's kind of like, I guess on a high level, there are a lot of women in the workforce, but at the same time, on a cultural level, it's still very, like, women still have the caretaker role.
Right. We still have some more to go for equality. So I guess my question, you have so much information and data, and I love data and the numbers that you're throwing out, and I'm familiar with the US ones, but not so much with Vietnam. And to see the similarities are kind of startling, to be honest, of just how we graduate, at the same rate pretty much, and we enter the workforce pretty much at the same rate or even higher in Vietnam. But then as soon as you start to get into, higher paying, more senior roles, there's this huge drop off. So with everything that you've learned and seen, what advice would you give to women who are in the workforce now, who want to not to be overwhelmed by those numbers and those stats? How can we move the needle forward even just a little bit and within our own networks and circles?
Well, I think the key thing, it's really important to surround yourself with people, and I don't just say women, but just people who want to support your journey. So if I look at my past, I've had mostly all male managers. I grew, let's see, my first job out of school was at an internet startup, and startups are generally male dominated, so all men. And then, well, technology startup, I guess, all men, and then went to investment banking, so all men there. And then, actually, you know, now that I actually never counted, but I can't recall a female direct manager.
Wow.
But I do recall all my male managers being very supportive of me in my career, giving me opportunities to try new projects, giving me some push projects to really just, you know, give it a try. And I think that's what you need, is somebody to give you, and to have the confidence in you, to give you the opportunity to try, even though you may fail. And if you do, then they just kind of help you through it. And I think that's really important, is women, if you don't have you know, your manager is male, and if he doesn't support that, then maybe you have to find that network to really kind of get yourself out there. And I think that's kind of, if I look back to the big leaps I've made in my career, it's really just taking that jump you've never done before, but just try it. And hopefully there are people there to support you along the way.
That's beautiful and wonderful advice. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and your knowledge, Vietnam and also everywhere or here. So thank you, Lynn. You know, the Q&A is coming right up. But last but certainly not least, our speaker joining us now is Ana Paulo. Ana is she graduated in the class of 2000 from the School of Cinematic Arts. She's the head of communications, and she was named by MSN Progeny Microsoft as one of the 50 top digital leaders in Mexico, and is one of the 5 most influential women in the internet in Mexico. So today, Ana is a successful mommy blogger of Mami Galina, focused on women and family issues all the way from Mexico City, Mexico. Welcome, Ana. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Jameelah. Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be with all these alumni panelists. I have learned a lot. I just want to say that I want to move to Vietnam, if possible. If you will accept me, Lynn, that would be fantastic. Thank you to the USC Trojan Women Network for making this event, because giving us time to share our experiences and lives and voices, it really makes this a better place. So I really appreciate you doing this. I come from the cinema. I'm a cinema major, and that would led me to have a blog. It's called Mother Hen, Mama Gallina. I have 3 kids, just really fast. I have 3 kids. Actually, my oldest son is graduating from theater school. He's 24, if you can believe how fast life goes. Actually, when I was at USC, I had a son there, and my teachers were in awe. Like, they could not believe I was a mom. That's another story. I have 2 girls, they're 11 and 9. But I want to start at least this conversation with a story that I think it's so interesting, because when I was 7 years old, I had a breakthrough. I remember thinking that if I wanted to make a difference in my country or where I lived or in my family, then I had to marry the president of Mexico. Like, I said, I did it. You know, I figured it out. This is it. And it's a cute and funny, you know, story, but it really shows you how, as a young girl, you know, being 7, I perceived a lot of things that maybe they're exaggerated or not, you know, realistic. But I knew that I had to be pretty, that I had to be lovable, and to shine, but not so much. Like, you could, you know, be funny and be smart, but like, don't make, you know, the other people uncomfortable. Mostly men, as you know, Fernanda or Lynn, that they come from patriotic societies. Mine is like the macho, I guess, of all of your stories. I feel I really come from a macho culture. It has obviously shifted and changed it a little bit, but we're still in diapers. So Mexico has the worst gender gap in all Latin America. The difference is 18.8%. Women do not only earn less than men, but they work 42.8 hours more on domestic labor that is not paid. also, like Lean, we have help in Mexico, but we have a problem in society with women, more mothers working. It really puts us in a hard place, because on the one side, you want to have a career and you want to grow and you still want to be productive, because regardless of, you know, being a mom, or you're a woman and you're intelligent, then you want to make this a better place. And if you're a mom, you are judged really harshly, because then if you want to pursue a career, then you're a bad mother or you're a bad partner. And this issue, like, it seems crazy, but it still goes on. It still goes on in 2021. And so I see mothers having this gender gap even worsen. It's not only the women that earn less, the mothers earn way less. And all this pressure that they have to be, you know, a good partner and a good mother and work. You can't have it all. I mean, we wish we could really, like, you know, like they say, like, leaning and I can do everything. Yes, but it's also very hard. Like, inside the houses and the families, it's an unspoken thing that you really don't want to feel bad. You don't want to disappoint your family or your husband. So you always want to do, you know, the best. And a lot of mothers leave their career and their job for two reasons. One, because it's too much work to be working, you know, the entire shifts that are really, really long in Mexico. Let's say 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's not really an 8-hour work day. It extends more. And then coming home and doing everything at home and being a mom and doing homework. And so it's really not leveled. So some women can do that, but some can't. So unfortunately, we lose all this talented women that could give so much to society in whatever area they are, but they can't because it's just too much. And then when they want to, right, when they want to go back to work, like I wanted to do that, and I left the job, the corporate job, for a while. It was so hard to go back, because people would say, no, forget it. Like, it's like you never worked before, you know, you have no experience. And so you're always this, like I said, you're always in like in a rock or a hard place, this thing you say in America. But for me, it's very important to talk about this, and that's why I try to organize my thoughts.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just something I want to jump in here, because I'm hearing everything saying, and you're 100% right. I mean, they've done studies, at least here, even in America, with men returning to the workforce versus women. And I've seen that even firsthand with just the double standard that's there. From everything you're describing, it sounds like the drive and the, you know, certainly, of course, the talent is there within women. It almost just seems like not image issue, but like you're saying, it's kind of looked bad upon if you are looked to, like, you know, wanting to climb the corporate ladder, or you're just kind of seen in the negative light as a woman. How can the media, I guess, kind of influence, or how would you like to see media, being from the media world yourself, would you like to see media support women in actually being more active in their careers in Mexico? Well,
I mean, you've seen the memes of the weather girls in my country, you know, but they have the shape and they, you know, it's just ridiculous. We are so much more than our bodies and our image. And so if we can portray, like, you know, other stories, other points of view, the value that we have and what we can bring to the table, then, I mean, it's not like men are bad. It's just that I don't think they know, you know, maybe they haven't really questioned, oh, you know, this is very interesting. Now I see younger Mexicans like much more open in every single way, from parenting to work, but you still need to work with a lot of older men, and it's very closed. And so what I've seen in the media and other places is that there's a lot of women working, but to a point. Right. Like if you're talking about senior level positions, you find one or none, like it depends on where you're looking. So there is still a huge glass ceiling that if you want to go up, it's really hard. I found I just want to say one thing. The World Economic Forum latest global gender gap reported that we are 108 years from achieving gender equality. So if we want to be alive, so when this happens, we really need to, start working, and more in countries like Mexico. I'm not going to be that old, to see that happen. So we really need to go to the basics. So I would like to focus, because I know you guys have been very, very patient hearing everyone's story, but I think what we can do, I want to focus on that. What we can do, at least in my country. First of all, we need sexual education for everyone. It's not possible that people get pregnant at 12, 13, 14. And so that really just, makes women not finish school, not work. Violence is really high in Mexico. There's a statistic that is kind of scary that says that women are in more danger of being in a relationship than single, because of all the killings and everything that happens to women. So sexual education, I know it's very basic, but we really, really need it in Mexico. Be the people that hire talented women and mothers. Make a space for all this talent that is back home, that doesn't know what to do, but can do so much for your company, for your business, for, really grab those women. Because if there is something that us mothers really have, is that we will never give up. We will never give up. We will never sleep. We will do it. We are the most driven, loyal, people. At least that's what I see. The mothers I have around, really, they go 110%. If you're in a company, push to implement diversity and inclusion policies, because this is going to be good for women and men. Because also, for example, paternity leave doesn't exist in Mexico. So it really is like a catch-21, because from one side, they would like to help, but their company is tying them up no, you're the guy, you can't go. And even though other countries they're more lenient, I think there still has to be much more equality. What I see economically in the household and in society is that if moms and dads equally parent, then their household is going to be, I guess, more affluent. They're going to have more money, but also society is going to be better. So it really is a win-win situation that I don't know why we're not doing it if we know it has this success rate,
Yeah, that's really wonderful. I completely agree. And it's funny to see kind of the overlap of what Evan was saying, and even what Fernanda was saying, and we're in Brazil about, so it's just, I think we're at the portion now where I really want all of you all to come back on camera, everyone, all of our wonderful speakers, and we can do a Q&A portion where we can start to have the audience ask questions. And Tanya's gonna, pop on and help me with mine some of these questions. And then we can, I can select one or two of you to comment on each question. And then we'll try to, get through a few of these, because there is so much overlap and theme that I see. I'm sure I'm not alone here with all of these conversations. So Tanya, are you?
Fantastic. Okay, I'm here and I am completely blown away.
Yes.
It's amazing conversation, amazing stories. Our first question is for Marisol. Firstly, I want to thank all of these fabulous guest speakers. I am truly in awe of the amazing accomplishments and initiatives of these women, truly inspiring. Her first question is for Rebecca. Rebecca, how did you initiate your promotions and general upward mobility within these companies that you worked with, especially given your initial position as secretary? How did you assert yourself and show your value?
Okay, it's a good question, but I tell you for sure that I never initiative anything. I just try my best to do my job. As a secretary, I hired first time actually in Northeast China, and then I was hired as a first employee for engineering company in my hometown. It's a foreign investment company too. And at that time, I was the first one. I also helped the company to set up the office in China. And then later on, they promote me actually at that time already to be a business development officer for Northern China. Do I know that role is coming? No. but I'm doing my job, and then they recognize my capability, my whatever they see. And then I remember that one of our client, the general manager from our client, even talked to me, said, Rebecca, I've been in Beijing and Shanghai, whatever, but I can see you are the girl who works so hard. So you know what, it's a compliment, but also encouraged me. And then when I worked for the other American company in Beijing, yes, I was hired as an executive secretary. Within a couple of months, I was promoted as an executive assistant. And then for PR manager and government affairs manager at that time, they don't even have anybody to do PR in China. And then so it's a work coming to me, and then I was taking a lead, and then help our company's 100-year celebration, and then take the shooting crew, video crew from San Francisco to all our 11 projects, and then deal with project director and talk to all people there. And they recognize my capability, my talent. And then, of course, I work very hard. And then so they set up this position for me, and then gave me this responsibility, my role expanding, and even later on, I'm doing the business development for them in Northern China. And like for US Pavilion, and then that is another story. So anyway, I didn't see it coming, but I just try my best to do all what I can with my attitude, always can do attitude, and working hard and provide the best service and professionally. And then they recognize you, and then they will give it to you. That's what my experience. So I always try to focus on what I can do the best, and how can do it, how to deliver, and then the opportunity is around you, and then you have it. Just always be ready, but focus on what you're doing. That is what I believe you will get a reward. Is that okay?
Yes, that's wonderful. Love it.
Is there another speaker who would like to share their experience climbing the ladder? Okay, great. I have another question here. Let's see. We have quite a few. Megan, when deciding to move your business to South Africa, how did you build a network with the NGOs you spoke to? Did you initiate contact, or did you have a network to help you tap into these initial meetings?
So initially doing the internship in 2018, I worked for the Startup Accelerator program. It's called Startup Bootcamp, and they're very huge in Cape Town. So when I first came, there's a lot of pressure nowadays to become an influencer and record everything, but I was very intentional about building relationships. And I realized I couldn't do both. I couldn't focus on creating content and building the relationships that I wanted to build a business here. So that network helped me. And initially, when I first started the Crown Workshop, this wasn't something I've actually seen before, but my background doing professional development work, diversity and inclusion, I felt like I could marry the two in a really creative way. So initially, people weren't that, they were interested, but they were like, okay, we haven't seen it before. So what I did was I partnered with a tourism company in Cape Town that worked with a nonprofit in different townships. So about maybe 6 months before coming, we'd have meetings, and he was doing a lot of legwork. It was a lot of investment in my end, but I really wanted to see it happen. So then once it happened, it was much easier to get buy-on because people saw clips from the workshop, and then they started to reach out to me. And I would also say that when you go to a new place, be okay with networking. I'm very okay with complimenting people, starting conversations about any and everything. And that has led to a lot of connections where people became interested in my work and was like, oh, well, you should meet this person. So it's happened really naturally, but there are ways where you can reach out as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. And actually, it's a perfect segue into our next question. Any advice on how women should stand out when networking for jobs? And this can go to any of our speakers. What do you do to make yourself known in a room?
Can I chip in there
Of
to share my?
course. Please.
I think we just have to be genuine ourselves, because at the end of the rainbow, we have to really love the work that we do, right? Being a multitasking role is not easy, but then if we love what we do, we really can immerse into it. And basically, the world, even though we might be in discriminations part and so on, but they do genuinely respect the merit and the performance that anyone, any gender, are actually putting into what we do and what we love to do. I think in Indonesia ourselves, women in the workplace is quite manageable and quite well accepted. However, in the organizations, women is still being looked down. But now it starts to be better. I think even when Anna mentioned about president, I also want to become a president, not to become the president wife. I want to become president. By having a triple minority, because I'm Chinese heritage, women, and Catholic, in a Muslim populated country like Indonesia, we are actually fourth largest country in the world after US. It's not easy, but then I do believe that one day I could become public servant after I finish all my ambitions on the business side. So I think women, when we would like to network for any job or anything, just be our genuine self, because we can see genuine is more sustainability than not more sustained. And we do have passion of whatever we do right now, right? And that sparks would long last, rather than, we just want to itch to get the job. It's not going to be sustaining. That's what I think. Feel free,
Anne,
other people, to chip in.
That's fantastic, Anne. It's yet to be seen if we have a president here, a future president. Lynn?
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. I think Anne has a good point that I think, in order for you to succeed, you have to want something, right? So in my current role at TVL Group, we do corporate training as well as career coaching. And so yesterday I was on a call with a young woman. She's 31, lives in a smaller B city in Vietnam. And I asked her, what do you want to do in your career? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And her first words were, I don't want to be a leader. And so, you have to stop there and you say, well, why don't you want to be a leader? In 5 years, you'll be 36 years old. That is a lot of years in the workforce. You're leading a 2-person team now. Why can't you, why don't you want to lead a team in the future? And she said, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to have to yell at people and tell people what to do. Because with her team now, she shares ideas and we agree on an idea together. And I said, that's a form of leadership. And she didn't think that was, because she thinks a leader, a manager needs to be, mean and full on. And, and I think that's one of the misconceptions is women feel like, as we move up the workforce, we need to be very aggressive, right? And I feel like, as Anne said, you just be yourself. You don't need to be super aggressive if you're not. If you are, it's fine. But if you're not, just be yourself and people will see your abilities, your talents, and that will shine through, right? And so I think, and it comes back to, you have to have the talent, right? And so in order to gain that talent, you have to know what you want and admit to yourself first that you want it. If you want to be president of the United States, you want to be wife of the president, if you want to be the CEO, you have to want it. Right. And then from there, then you can go out and get it. But that first step is starting with yourself and being able to admit that you want something that's, really high.
Thanks.
I would like to say something.
Yes, please, Anna.
What you're saying really sounds to something I've told myself. Like every time you see a no, or you see a block, or you see a wall, it really is, okay, this way doesn't work, but what way will it work? Like we can never give up. So if one way is not working, you have to find another way. And we live in an era that we haven't touched, that it's internet based. I made Mama Gallina, the blog. I started it 8 years ago when I couldn't find the job that I wanted to work at. I created that. So I mean, I've been nourishing and working on it for a long time and doing content, but it really is, it was the escape and me stating, this is who I am, this is what I like, and this is a way. And I don't need to get like, you know, checks or approval from maybe the huge media companies or people or everything that was already established in a way, because internet is free and it's for everyone. So you take your space and you share your voice. And so that it's really empowering for us, like this generation of women, that we have a way to distribute our point of view, our feelings, our family, our whatever, in a way that is free, it's easy, it's in our cell phone, and we don't need the permission of anyone. Like, let's not forget all the tools that we also have, you know?
And I
That's
have
fantastic.
something.
Sure, Rebecca, go right ahead.
I like to share the story that, you know, I was invited to speak to women leaders in Northern China one time. And then, so they have a, you know, the best women leaders in the town, in city. And then, so I talked to them, and then, so even they have a prosecutor, you know, and then they take very lead roles. But what I try to tell them is that, you know, when you come home, forget about who you are at work, like your boss, right? You are the manager, whatever, because you also want to keep your life, personal life, balanced too. And then so you are doing good at work, but also when you talk to your husband and then the kids, your wife and mom. That is another thing that I like to share here. And the other thing is that you talk about how women stand up and then take your opportunities. Couple years ago, I just started an initiative and then started a Global Women Economic Forum in Shanghai. And then I invited the Consul General from US and New Zealand, Australia, Canada, you know, they all attended. And then so we have 250 people. But at that time, nobody tell me that, oh, you know what, are you sure you want to do it? And does anybody has done that before, whatever. I don't care what they think, but I did it and I started and then it's doing good. And then so we have a second one already in 2019, but not last year. And then even we have a delegation from Mongolia. And then the chairman of the Women Federation from Mongolia take a delegation come over to Shanghai. And then I like to do more this year. Now is virtual. I will go. I have a you know, the mind, I set up my mind already. I want to go everywhere, right? But I mean, yes, some things you haven't done before, but when you think of something you believe that is good thing for you to do, and then just put your effort and go for it. Like 2019, I also started another summit. You know what it is? Professional Women Wellness Management Summit.
Wow,
And,
Rebecca.
you know, right, see, and then I did it, and then I have the people come over, show that the wellness management and talk about the women's wealth, health management, and then also we have a very good dancer, a male dancer, to show us a body movement and then flower arrangement and talk about life and work balance, you know, how to, you know, you have a senior cares, right? You take care of your parents, and then you have a kids, and then you're also a wife, you know, you have all different roles, you know, how to play well. Don't take it as a burden, but enjoy, and then every role you have, and focus on that. So you would devote your time, only 10 minutes to your husband, but they know you are his wife. You don't do that like, talk to my husband, my husband will say, who are you talking to? Are you talking to me? You know, that kind of thing. I'm sure all the women have that experience, right?
Sure. That's Rebecca, that's fantastic. Thank you for touching upon that. I think that the work-life balance and wearing multiple hats is something that we all, you know, have to deal with and face. So thank you for sharing tips on really prioritizing your time and being present in the moment. So that's fantastic. We have time for one or two more questions. One more question. This question is from Amy. How do you navigate the professional conflict in the workplace, specifically with men? So have you had an experience with that, and how do you best navigate that? Yes, Anna.
Oh, if I could tell you the stories. Well, I mean, let's do something that is kind of close to home that I told you guys I was going to talk about. I founded and opened the office of USC, the international office in Mexico in 2005. It was a huge honor, and I was just so ready and so eager and driven. And the first few years, the older, now they're really close friends of mine, but the older men, alumni, they just did not believe, they didn't trust me, and they wouldn't really talk to me. It was really a struggle for years, and let me underline years. Like, for me, it just seemed forever that they wouldn't see everything I've done or what I was doing, at the USC office in Mexico. And it really hit me how, if a society or a group of people or a workplace really doesn't accept you, I think, like Anne said, you have to show your value, be authentic. And yeah, it is working hard. I think all of us have that in common. We have to work hard, maybe twice more than other people, to prove our worth and our knowledge and our passion. But we can't stop there. It's not fair, yes, but we have to do it. And I think that the moment that more of us are in leadership roles, we can also help us out, because we're building communities, we're helping each other. I think it's really a moment to say, stop shaming women, period, because it really is destroying, the society and everything we have accomplished. If we tear it down between ourselves, it's bad. So if you see a colleague or someone that is new in a work and is struggling, help that person, help that girl, help her get, socialized, or, hey, if you need anything, let me know. And when you are in a position, also be kind to your peer women, that are starting, and I don't know, have that, kindness for women in the mind, because it's still not the best place for women to work,
Right.
but we can make it, no?
Yes, thank you. No, you're absolutely right. I think that's kind of what we're seeing here today, Trojan women coming together, uplifting each other. We have, so if I have a question here that I think is a great question, and if we could have one or two speakers on this very quickly, how do you feel that your association with USC has benefited your career?
Can I say something?
Yes,
That
please.
I have to, what I say is 100%. I think not just in career, but mostly actually for me in the networking in Indonesia. I think Indonesia, USC Alumni Indonesia Association is the largest foreign university alumni in Indonesia. And we are very, very active. I have the privilege to serve as the president since 2014. I already gave my baton to my other alumni in year 2019, but we have the best network ever. I think some of our alumni is right now within the ministry level and also with tax level. So they are also a public servant. Some of us are business prominent. Most of the networking, the banking sectors everywhere, it's all about USC, USC, and USC. In the past, we used to be called, I'm in the 90s era, right? We used to be called University of Spoiled Children, because basically going to USC is very, very expensive. Pardon my language here, because international students, everything, we pay everything full and no financial aid and all. And entering in USC back then is so easy. Now it's so difficult. Now USC is being called, USC is University of Smart Children or Successful Children. That's what we are.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Thanks,
so
Anne.
It's very, very good. I mean, I'm very, very proud of USC until today. I think Trojans are what make me what I am today.
Thank you. Yes, I think a lot of us can share that sentiment. I know that our students today, they are just the brightest, around, and they just blow my mind. We have a good future ahead of us. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, but just real quick, we'll go around the circle. Can you give us 2 words, one sentence of a piece of advice that you wish you had been able to give your younger self? In one sentence, sum that up. I'll go ahead and call on you. give you a minute to think about it, but let's go ahead. Anna, one sentence or one phrase.
Which Anna? Me?
You, Anna. Anna Paula.
Oh man, I'm on the spot. I guess it really is just never give up. I mean, you're
Yeah.
gonna fall 3,000 times, and pandemic changed everything, and you're gonna lose your job. You're gonna, get divorced. Like everything is going to happen, but you have to be a better person, and you can't give up.
I love that.
I mean, there's so
Thank
much you
you.
can give. Yes.
Thank you. Lynn, can you share?
Okay, so I grew up a painfully shy person, and even until very recently, it's hard for me to start a conversation. I think Jameelah was saying she's very comfortable, or Megan, she was very comfortable getting out there and talking to people, and I was not, and so I would say to myself, you're not the only nervous person in the room.
Yeah.
Like I think I didn't realize that until recently. And so, if I just knew that, and if I just knew that not everybody is super confident like they look they are, then maybe it would have made me less afraid to talk to people. Because I think that's the value of it, right? Is having the right people around you to really help you. And if you're not out there meeting people, then you don't have that support network that you really need.
That's perfect. Thank you, Lynn. Great advice. Megan, do you want to go ahead and share? One piece of advice, one phrase. Oh, and you're muted.
Yes, I guess my advice would be that it gets better and it will all make sense, because I spent a lot of time stressing about what was currently happening and why I had so many different interests. I felt like I was all over the place until it actually came together to serve.
Mm-hmm. That's a good motto to live by. There's always another day. Fernanda, do you have a sentence or a few words you'd like to give your younger self?
I think I would say that every day we have an opportunity to improve, to get better at something. And that it's not only by getting an education degree or getting a job. This will not make us everything as who we are, because at the end of the day, the networks that we have, the connections that we make, the biases that we recognize that we also have are very important on how we pursue our passion and our impact into the world.
That's wonderful. Beautifully said. Anne, can you give us a sentence or two?
Sure.
Perfect.
Love is my ingredients of life. And I would like to encourage everyone, every millennials, everyone that, we are still in learning process, right? To work hard, work smart, work in precision, and work in faith. I think faith is the best out of the work. And fight on.
Another great motto. Rebecca, let's hear from you.
Yes. No limits. Don't set up any limits to yourself. Believe in yourself, have a big potential, but at the same time, devote yourself and have a passion on what you're doing.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Rebecca. Jameelah, do you want to give us some advice to your younger self, our moderator of the evening?
Goodness, I was over here just comfortable sitting back listening to all this advice from me. Let me go ahead and go through. I mean, right away, the first thing that comes to mind is just enjoy it. That's what I want to tell my younger self. Just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Kind of to what Megan's point was of sometimes feeling like you need to understand where everything's going. Just enjoy where you are right now.
That's perfect. Thank you, Jameelah.
Thank you.
And that's all the time we have for questions tonight. Once again, thank you to Rebecca, Megan, Fernanda, Anne, Lynn, and Anna for taking the time to be with us today. And again, Jameelah, thank you for moderating. This was really an inspirational experience for, I think, many of us today. So thank you. I also want to thank all of our guests that have joined us today. I want to remind you to stay connected with USC through the USC Alumni Association and the Trojan Women's Network, as well as our other great communities and programs. For more information, visit alumni.usc.edu. Of note, Join us for the 12th annual USC Alumni Women's Conference on March 5th and 6th. Thrive Together. This year's program will consist of 2 days of virtual programs and activities designed to inspire and empower Trojan alumni to create positive change in their personal lives, their communities, and the world. Also, we invite you to participate in USC Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Week, the week of March 8th through the 12th. The theme this year is Diversity United, Race, Social Justice, and the Future of American Equality. With nearly 60 programs, participants will examine how race discrimination in a variety of forms profoundly shapes our experiences as members of the USC community, our understanding of America as a nation, and our obligations as citizens of the world. Please stay tuned for more details. Lastly, before we go, we ask you to consider supporting the Trojan Women's Network Scholarship Endowment. Based on academic achievement, leadership potential, and community service, each student recipient is eligible for one $2,000 scholarship per year. To support the Trojan Women's Network Scholarship Program, please text TWN to 71777 or visit giving.usc.edu. On behalf of the USC Alumni Association, thank you, please be well, and of course, fight on.